My sister died suddenly, and at her funeral her boss whispered, "Don't tell Mitchell. Don't tell Beth. You could be in danger." When my sister's boss whispered, "You could be in danger at the funeral," I thought she was paranoid. Then I found the USB drive taped under Megan's desk drawer. Inside were voice memos, time-stamped at 2 a.m. Megan's voice was calm, but I could hear the fear underneath. "Mitchell made me tea. It tasted wrong. This is the third time this month." That is when I knew my sister didn't die of natural causes. My name is Laura Mercer. I am 34 years old. 3 days ago, I flew home from Fort Carson, Colorado on emergency leave because my younger sister died suddenly. Cardiac complications, they said. Natural causes. Over 80 people came to the funeral. Her husband Mitchell stood at the front greeting mourners like he was hosting a business event. My older cousin Beth managed the guest flow. Everyone performed grief perfectly, but Megan's boss Diane walked past me during the service and whispered 6 words that changed everything. "Don't tell Mitchell. Don't tell Beth. You could be in danger." I stood there frozen, while 80 people filed past the casket. Nobody warns you about danger at a natural death. Nobody delivers coded messages at your sister's funeral, unless the official story is a lie. I am an Army logistics officer. I have spent 12 years working chain of custody cases. I don't work on hunches. I work on inconsistencies, and Megan's death had at least 15 of them. What Mitchell didn't know was that Megan had left me a trail. Documents, recordings, evidence only I would recognize, and what he definitely didn't know was that I wasn't going to let him bury the truth with my sister. Before I tell you what I found, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if this story resonates with you. Drop a comment telling me where you are watching from and what time it is there. Now, let me take you back to the moment I realized Megan knew she was running out of time. Megan was 4 years younger than me. Growing up, she was the one everyone said was too sensitive. I was the one they said asked too many questions. Between us, we made the family uncomfortable. When I was 16 and Megan was 12, she came to me crying. She said a family friend had been going through her things. She had left a pink spiral notebook on her desk, and when she came back, pages were torn out. Pages she had written about feeling watched. I believed her. Our parents didn't. Our Aunt Beth said Megan had an overactive imagination. My father said she always needed a problem to feel interesting. That was the quote, word for word. Megan always needs a problem to feel interesting. 2 months later, I left for ROTC prep. I didn't push harder for Megan because I thought distance would give her space to grow. I thought wrong. When Megan turned 23, she started dating Mitchell Hale. He looked good on paper. 31. Worked in healthcare supply logistics for his family's company. Drove a black Audi A6. Took her to nice restaurants. He paid for things. He introduced her to his network. He started helping her manage her calendar and her bank logins. The family loved him. At their engagement dinner at the Avenue Grill, Beth toasted them and said, "You should be grateful a man like Mitchell puts up with your nerves." Megan smiled, but her hand was shaking when she lifted her glass. I was stationed in Germany at the time. I missed the wedding. I sent a card. I told myself Megan was an adult, and I couldn't manage her choices from 8 time zones away. By the time Megan turned 31, something had shifted. She started texting me late at night. Short, strange messages. She said her medication felt different. She said appointments appeared in her medical portal that she never attended. She said expense reports at work didn't match vendor invoices. I asked if she had talked to Mitchell. She said she tried. He told her she was burnt out. He scheduled her a doctor's appointment. Then he told the family she was struggling. Beth called me in February of last year. She said Megan was spiraling. She said stress could make smart women sound insane. That was another exact quote. Stress can make smart women sound insane. I should have gotten on a plane right then. I didn't. I told myself Megan was safe because she had a husband, a home, a job. I told myself she would reach out if it was really bad. Then, at 1:14 a.m. on a Thursday in late August, I got a text. "If anything happens to me, don't trust the easy answer." I replied immediately. She didn't respond for 2 weeks. Nothing. Then she sent a cheerful message about a new recipe she had tried. I asked if she was okay. She said she was fine. She said she had been tired. I wanted to believe her. That was my mistake. I wanted the easy answer, because the hard answer would have meant admitting I had left her alone in a place that didn't believe her. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from my mother. She said Megan had a cardiac event. She said it was sudden. She said Mitchell found her unresponsive in the kitchen. By the time I got emergency leave approved and flew back, Megan was already gone. The funeral was scheduled. The narrative was set: exhaustion, stress, undiagnosed heart condition, natural causes. That is what everyone kept saying. Natural causes. But the thing about natural causes is, they don't usually come with whispered warnings from your boss at your own funeral. I had 72 hours of emergency leave, 3 days to bury my sister, comfort my parents, and get back to base. That was the expectation. Mitchell and Beth were counting on it. What they didn't know was that Megan had been keeping records, and what I didn't know yet was just how much those records would cost me to surface. The night before the funeral, I couldn't sleep. I went through old emails on a backup account. Megan and I used to use for serious things, stuff we didn't want on family visible threads. I found a draft she would never sent. It was dated 5 days before she died. The subject line said, "In case I run out of time." I opened it. Inside were 3 attachments: bank statements, expense spreadsheets, medication logs, and a short note that said, "Don't open this on Mitchell's Wi-Fi." So I didn't. I went to a coffee shop at 6 a.m. and pulled everything onto a secure drive. What I found made my hands shake. Over 14 months, Megan had transferred $48,700 into accounts tied to Beth and Mitchell. Some labeled as family emergencies. Some labeled as business reimbursements. All of them routed through shell vendor names. Megan had flagged with question marks. She had been documenting discrepancies at Hale Family Wellness. Billing irregularities tied to patient reimbursements, fake invoices, payments to vendors that didn't exist outside of a registered LLC, and she had been documenting something worse. Her own medical records showed entries she never made, appointments she never attended, vital signs logged on dates. She had text messages, proving she was somewhere else. Someone had been accessing her medical portal. Someone had been editing her file. The worst part wasn't the money. It wasn't even the fraud. It was the realization that if Megan had tried to report this, she would have looked exactly the way they had been framing her for years. Paranoid, dramatic, unstable. And now she was dead. And the official story was stress-induced cardiac event. If I stayed quiet, Megan would be remembered as the sister who couldn't handle pressure. The one who always needed a problem to feel interesting. The one who married well and still couldn't be grateful. If I stayed quiet, Mitchell would inherit everything. Beth would keep covering. And whatever had actually happened in that kitchen would stay buried with my sister. I thought about my parents. They were already destroyed. I thought about the extended family, who just wanted this to be over. I thought about my career, my obligations. The fact that I would be gone in 2 days and wouldn't be here to see this through. Then I thought about Megan texting me at 1:14 a.m. Don't trust the easy answer. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them rewrite her. Not this time. The funeral was held at Evergreen Memorial in Dublin, Ohio, at noon on a Tuesday. Bright cold sunlight, sharp wind. The kind of day that feels wrong for grief. Over 80 people came, extended family, business associates, church acquaintances, co-workers from Hale Family Wellness. Megan's college friends. Mitchell stood at the front greeting people, like he was hosting a networking event. Calm, composed, sympathetic without being broken. He wore a charcoal suit and a silver watch. I recognized from their anniversary trip to Napa. Beth managed the flow. She intercepted anyone who tried to approach me privately. She touched arms. She redirected conversations. She made sure no one lingered too long near the casket. I stood near the back and watched. The program listed cause of death as unexpected cardiac complications. Not a heart attack, not a stroke. Complications, the kind of word that closes questions instead of answering them. During the viewing, I walked up to the casket. Megan looked like she was sleeping, but wrong. Her makeup was heavier than she ever wore it. Her hands were folded strangely, and under the sleeve of her dress, I could see a faint, bruise-colored shadow near her wrist. I took a photo with my phone. No flash, no one noticed. Diane Foster, Megan's supervisor, stood near the doorway for most of the service. She didn't approach the casket. She didn't speak to Mitchell or Beth. She kept her coat on like she might leave at any second. Then, as people started moving toward the reception hall, she walked past me. She didn't stop. She didn't make eye contact. She just said it as she passed. "Don't tell Mitchell. Don't tell Beth. You could be in danger." And she kept walking. My heart stopped. I turned to watch her leave, but she was already out the door. I stood there, surrounded by 80 people performing grief. And I couldn't move. 10 minutes later, I heard voices from a side room near the restrooms. The door was cracked. I recognized Beth's voice. "Did she say anything to you, then, Mitchell?" His voice was quieter, but I heard it clearly. Whatever Megan thought she had, it died with her. Silence. Then Beth again. "You are sure?" "I am sure." I stepped back before they saw me. My jaw was so tight I thought my teeth would crack. I didn't confront them. I didn't storm in. I didn't make a scene. I walked outside. I stood in the cold wind, and I recorded a voice memo with a timestamp. 12:47 p.m. Mitchell Hale, quote. Whatever Megan thought she had, it died with her. Then I sent the memo to 3 separate email accounts and took a screenshot of the funeral program. Natural deaths don't require this much choreography. That was the moment grief changed shape. That was the moment I stopped asking if I was imagining things and started building a case. That night, in a hotel room 6 miles from my parents' house, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Mitchell at some family luncheon. I wasn't going to give him a chance to destroy more evidence or manipulate more people. I was going to bring in someone who couldn't be gaslit. Diane had given me a name: Special Agent Naomi Briggs. She worked financial crimes and healthcare fraud out of the Columbus field office. I called her at 7 a.m., "Agent Briggs. My name is Laura Mercer. My sister died 3 days ago under suspicious circumstances. I have documentation suggesting medical records, tampering, financial fraud, and possible foul play." Silence. Then, "How much documentation?" USB drive, medication logs, bank statements, voice memos, portal access records showing 11 unauthorized entries into her medical file. "Where are you?" "Columbus buried my sister yesterday." "Can you be at my office in 2 hours?" "Yes." I met Agent Briggs at 9:30 a.m. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. I handed over everything: the USB drive, the printed medication logs, with highlighted discrepancies, the photocopies of lab reports, the voice memos, the bank statements showing $48,700 transferred over 14 months. She took notes for 45 minutes without interrupting. Then she said, "Walk me through the chain of custody." I did. Cedar box taped under desk drawer. Found at 9 a.m. while Mitchell was at family breakfast. Photographed in place before removal. Backed up in 3 separate locations with timestamps. "You have investigative training, Army logistics, 12 years, worked alongside MPs on evidence handling." She nodded. "That is going to matter." She asked me about the warning at the funeral. About Mitchell's quote overheard in the side room. About the bruise shadow on Megan's wrist. About the toxicology report I hadn't seen yet. "You haven't requested the full autopsy file." "I don't have legal standing yet." "We do." She made 3 calls while I sat there. 1 to the medical examiner's office. 1 to the county records department. 1 to someone she called the fraud team. Then she looked at me. "Miss Mercer, I need you to understand something. If we pursue this, it is going to get worse before it gets better. Your family is going to fracture. People are going to accuse you of things. Are you prepared for that?" My sister left me those files because she knew I wouldn't stop. That is not what I asked. I met her eyes. "Yes, I am prepared." She nodded once. "Then we are opening a case." How long does this take depends on cooperation, or lack of it. She stood. I am placing a hold on your sister's medical records, financial accounts, and any devices in Mitchell Hale's possession. We will need your formal statement, and I will need you to not discuss this investigation with anyone in your family. They are already asking questions. Then don't answer them. I flew back to Fort Carson the next day. But I wasn't leaving this behind. Agent Briggs had my number, and she had Megan's voice on those recordings. That was enough to start. Agent Briggs called me 5 days later. I was back on base, reviewing supply chain audits, trying to focus on normal work. We got the full autopsy file, she said. And the medical examiner has questions. What kind of questions? The kind that require a toxicology addendum. My hands went cold. What does that mean? It means the original report listed cardiac event with no suspicious indicators. But when we requested metabolic markers, something showed up. Irregular sedative levels, pattern consistent with repeated exposure over weeks. Not a single incident. Someone was drugging her. I didn't say that. I am saying the findings warrant further investigation. She paused. We also pulled the medical portal access logs your sister documented. Confirmed 11 unauthorized entries from a proxy account registered to Hale Family Wellness. Most entries occurred between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Mitchell. We don't know that yet, but we are interviewing the IT administrator who set up the account. What about the financial records? Those are worse. Your sister flagged shell vendors. We cross-referenced them with company filings. 3 of the LLCs don't exist outside of registration paperwork. No physical address, no employees, but they received over $127,000 in reimbursements over 18 months. That number was higher than what I had found. Megan only documented $48,700. She caught the personal transfers. We caught the company fraud. Someone was running money through fake vendors and pocketing the difference. I couldn't speak, Miss Mercer. We are expanding this case. Healthcare fraud, records tampering, potential conspiracy, and depending on what toxicology finds, possibly more. How long until you can move on this? We are building it carefully. Mitchell Hale has resources. His family has connections. If we move too early, he lawyers up and everything shuts down. We need airtight evidence. He is destroying evidence right now. No, he is not. We froze his accounts. We placed a preservation order on all devices and records. He doesn't know we are watching yet, but he is not touching anything without us seeing it. That gave me some relief. Not much, but some. 2 weeks later, Agent Briggs called again. We found a witness. Someone from the company, who, cannot say yet. But this person confirms your sister raised concerns internally about billing discrepancies, confirms Mitchell shut her down, and confirms Beth Carver was involved in redirecting complaints. Beth knew. Beth participated. We have emails showing coordination between her and Mitchell to alter documentation after your sister flagged issues. My cousin, my own family. There is something else, Agent Briggs said. We found a storage unit, rented under your sister's maiden name, paid a year in advance. What was in it? Cash, backup drives, a spare phone with audio recordings, and a sealed letter addressed to you. What did it say? Haven't opened it. It is evidence. But you will get to read it eventually. I felt Megan's presence so strongly in that moment, I almost broke. One more thing, Agent Briggs said. We are bringing Mitchell in for questioning next week. At his office, public setting. We want to see how he responds under pressure. Will you arrest him? Not yet. But we are going to make it very clear we are not going away. I hung up and sat in my barracks room staring at the wall. The case was building, piece by piece. And Mitchell had no idea how close the walls were getting. Agent Briggs called me 3 weeks into the investigation. We are bringing him in tomorrow. 10 a.m. at his office. Why there? Because we want witnesses. We want his employees to see federal agents walking into Hale Family Wellness, asking questions. We want him to understand this isn't a private family matter anymore. Can I be there? Number. But I will call you after. The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. I kept checking my phone. Finally, at 11:47 a.m., Agent Briggs called. We just left. He lawyered up immediately, but not before we got what we needed, which was panic, contradiction, and 12 employees watching him get escorted to a conference room by federal agents. She paused. Here is what happened. We walked in at 10:03 a.m., asked reception for Mitchell Hale. She called him down. When he saw us, his face went white. Did he say anything? He asked if we could do this privately. We said no. We had questions about financial irregularities and medical records access, right there in the lobby. I could picture it, the polished widower performance cracking in front of his own staff. He tried to control the conversation, said we should speak to his attorney. We said fine, but we had already served preservation orders on company records. Then we asked him directly, why did someone using your credentials access Megan Hale's medical portal 11 times in the 3 weeks before her death? What did he say? He said he didn't know what we were talking about. So we showed him the access logs, timestamps, IP addresses traced to his home network. His face changed. How? He stopped performing grief. He got angry, said his wife had been paranoid, and clearly we were taking her delusions seriously. Bad move. Why? Because one of his employees, standing right there in the lobby, said, "That is not true." Out loud. My heart stopped. Who? Woman named Diane Foster, your sister's former supervisor. She told us in front of Mitchell and half the office that Megan had documented concerns about billing fraud and had been shut down by management. Then she said Megan had been frightened of her own husband in the weeks before she died. What did Mitchell do? Told her to stop talking. Told her she was fired. Big mistake. You cannot terminate someone for cooperating with a federal investigation. We informed him of that right there. Agent Briggs sounded almost satisfied. Then Beth Carver showed up. Apparently someone called her. She tried to smooth things over. Said this was a misunderstanding. Said Megan had been unstable. Did you show her the emails? We showed her excerpts. Messages between her and Mitchell coordinating alterations to records, instructions to delete communications, specific directives to discredit Megan's concerns. What did she say? Nothing useful, but her face said everything. Are you arresting them? Not yet, but we made it clear we are not done. We executed search warrants on company servers, seized Mitchell's work devices, placed holds on Beth's accounts, and we did it in front of approximately 35 employees and 4 business partners. 35 witnesses. By lunch, everyone in that building knew federal agents were investigating Megan's death. By end of day, Mitchell's attorney called us trying to negotiate cooperation. What did you say? We said we don't negotiate until we have finished building the case. 2 days later, Agent Briggs called again. Medical examiner is amending the death certificate to what pending investigation? They cannot rule it natural causes anymore. Not with the toxicology findings and the suspicious circumstances. Is that enough for charges? It is enough to keep going, and Mitchell knows it. How? Because his mother called the medical examiner's office demanding answers. His attorney filed a motion to suppress the amended finding, and Beth deactivated her social media accounts. They were panicking. One more thing, Agent Briggs said. We interviewed the IT administrator who set up the proxy account. He confirmed Mitchell requested backdoor access to Megan's portal. Said it was for helping her manage appointments. Administrator flagged it internally as unusual, but was overruled by management. So there is a paper trail. There is a paper trail, and more people willing to talk now that they know we are serious. I sat in my barracks room and let it sink in. Mitchell had spent years controlling the narrative about Megan, making her look unstable, dismissing her concerns, silencing anyone who listened. And now federal agents had walked into his office in front of everyone and torn that narrative apart. He couldn't gaslight the FBI. He couldn't charm them into believing Megan was dramatic. The institutional hammer had fallen, and it wasn't done yet. 6 weeks after the funeral, Agent Briggs called with news that changed everything. The medical examiner completed the toxicology addendum, and irregular sedative metabolites, pattern consistent with chronic low-dose administration over approximately 6 to 8 weeks, not consistent with prescription use or single-incident overdose. I sat down hard. Someone was poisoning her. The medical examiner will not use that word in the official report, but the findings support it. What happens now? Death certificate gets amended. Cause of death changes from natural causes to pending further investigation. That opens the door for criminal charges. How long until charges? We are building the case carefully. Healthcare fraud is solid. Records tampering is solid. Obstruction is solid. The homicide-related charges require more corroboration, but we are getting there. She paused. Your sister's storage unit gave us more. The spare phone had recordings Mitchell didn't know existed. Megan documented symptoms after specific meals, dizzy spells after tea, nausea after vitamins. She was tracking it. My hands were shaking. Mitchell doesn't know about these recordings yet. When we bring them in, it is going to hit hard. 2 weeks later, the amended death certificate was filed. I got a copy in the mail. Cause of death, pending investigation, suspicious circumstances, contributing factors, toxicological findings, inconsistent with natural cardiac event. I stared at it for a long time. This was the first official document that said what I had known from the moment Diane whispered that warning. Megan didn't just die. She was killed. Agent Briggs called again. Mitchell's attorney tried to suppress the amended certificate. Judge denied the motion. It is public record now. What does that mean? It means everyone who said your sister died of stress now has to answer for why the medical examiner disagrees. Within days, things started moving fast. The county prosecutor's office announced they were reviewing the case in conjunction with federal investigators. Hale Family Wellness shut down operations, pending audit completion. Mitchell's business partners publicly distanced themselves. Beth's social media accounts stayed dark. No posts, no statements, just silence. Then Agent Briggs called with the final piece: we are filing charges next week. Healthcare fraud, financial exploitation, records tampering, obstruction of justice. And based on the toxicology findings and documented evidence of chronic poisoning, we are adding a homicide-related charge. Which one? Second-degree murder. Depraved indifference. Mitchell administered substances knowing they could cause serious harm or death. The medical evidence supports it. Megan's recordings support it. And the pattern of abuse and control supports it. Will it stick? Yes, we have witnesses, we have documents. We have Mitchell's own contradictions on record, and we have your sister's voice describing exactly what was happening to her. I couldn't speak. Beth Carver is being charged as an accessory, conspiracy to obstruct, records tampering. She helped cover it up after the fact. The emails prove it. When do they get arrested? Mitchell gets arrested at his home tomorrow morning. Beth gets arrested at her office. We are doing it publicly. They made this a public spectacle when they performed grief at that funeral. Now they answer publicly. The next day, I watched the news from my barracks. Mitchell Hale arrested on murder and fraud charges. Beth Carver charged as accessory, both in custody pending arraignment. The headline showed Mitchell in handcuffs being walked out of his house. His face wasn't calm anymore. He looked exactly like what he was caught. That night, my mother called. She was crying. Cannot this just stop at the fraud part? That question broke something in me. My own mother still wanted manageable truth instead of full truth. No, I said. It cannot. I hung up. Some of my family cut me off after that. They said I was destroying what was left of the family. They said Megan would have wanted peace, but Megan left me those files, because she knew I would choose truth over peace, and I did. The trial took 3 months. I flew back for opening statements. Saturday in the gallery every day I could get leave. Watched prosecutors lay out Megan's case, piece by piece. The evidence was overwhelming. Medical portal access logs, showing Mitchell's credentials used 11 times. Toxicology reports, showing chronic sedative exposure. Financial records showing $127,000 in fraudulent reimbursements. Megan's voice memos, describing symptoms after specific meals. And Diane's testimony: she stood in that courtroom and told the truth, Megan never got to tell. How Megan had documented concerns. How management shut her down. How Mitchell controlled every aspect of her life in those final months. She was terrified, Diane said. And she was right to be. Mitchell's attorney tried to paint Megan as unstable. Tried to suggest she had fabricated evidence. Tried to claim the medical findings were inconclusive. Then prosecutors played the recordings. Megan's voice filled the courtroom. Mitchell made me tea. It tasted wrong. This is the third time this month. I feel dizzy within minutes. He says it is stress, but the pattern is too consistent. Another recording. I found the pill bottle I thought was my prescription. The tablets look different. I checked the label against my original prescription photo. The dose is wrong. One more. If I die, they will say it was stress. Beth will back him up. She always does. But I am documenting everything. If Laura finds this, she will know I wasn't imagining it. The jury sat in silence. Mitchell's mother left the courtroom crying. Beth stared at the floor. The defense had no answer for Megan's own voice. Beth took a plea deal halfway through the trial. Accessory after the fact. Conspiracy to obstruct. 8 years. She gave a statement admitting she had helped Mitchell alter records and discredit Megan's concerns. Said she had believed she was protecting the family. I was wrong, she said. Megan was telling the truth. Mitchell didn't testify. His attorney advised against it. Too many contradictions on record. Too many lies to keep straight. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Healthcare fraud, financial exploitation, records tampering obstruction, and second-degree murder. The day of sentencing, I sat in the courtroom gallery. Mitchell stood in an orange jumpsuit, the same man who had greeted 80 mourners in a charcoal suit, and silver watch now looked small under fluorescent lights. The judge read the verdict. Then she read the sentence. Mr. Hale, you systematically abused, controlled, and ultimately killed your wife. You manipulated her medical care, stole from her employer, and when she tried to expose you, you silenced her permanently. This court finds your actions to be among the most calculated and cruel it has encountered. 15 years for murder, 10 years for fraud and obstruction. Consecutive, not concurrent. 25 years total. Mitchell's mother sobbed. His attorney said they would appeal. Mitchell himself said nothing. Beth sat in the gallery in handcuffs waiting to be transported for her own sentencing. She wouldn't look at me, and in that moment, I felt what Megan never got to feel. Vindication, complete, public, permanent. The judge wasn't done, Miss Mercer, she said, looking directly at me. Your sister's case was solved because you refused to accept the easy answer. The court acknowledges your diligence and your courage. I nodded. I couldn't speak. That night, Agent Briggs called. It is over, she said. He is going to prison, Beth's going to prison, and your sister's death certificate now reads what it should have from the beginning. Homicide. Thank you, I said. You did this, she said. You and Megan. She built the case. You made sure it survived. After I hung up, I sat in my hotel room and opened Megan's last letter. The one from the storage unit. It said, Laura, if you are reading this, I am gone. I know what is happening to me. I know Mitchell is doing this slowly. I know Beth is helping him cover it. I documented everything because I knew no one would believe me while I was alive. But I also knew you would believe me after. You always did. Don't let them say I was crazy. Don't let them say I imagined it. I didn't. This is real, and I need you to make sure everyone knows. I love you, Megan. I read it 3 times. Then I put it back in the envelope and went to sleep. For the first time in a year, I slept through the night. 3 months after the sentencing, I stood at Megan's grave before flying back to Colorado. The headstone had been updated. It no longer said beloved wife. It said beloved sister. I brought a smooth river stone from a trail we used to hike as kids. Set it on the corner. No flowers. Megan never liked watching beautiful things die slowly. The extended family mostly stayed quiet. A few apologized. Most just stopped calling me cruel and left it at that. My mother calls occasionally now. We don't talk about the trial. Hale Family Wellness shut down permanently. Mitchell's appeal was denied. Beth served her time quietly. Neither of them will ever say Megan's name in public again. Diane Foster started working with victim advocacy groups. She speaks openly about what happened, about the cost of silence, about believing women when they say they are in danger. And me, I went back to my life, my work, my routine. But I am different now. I don't ignore my gut anymore. I don't accept easy answers, and I don't let people rewrite the truth to make themselves comfortable. Here is what I learned. Family can be the first place a truth gets buried. When someone says they feel unsafe and everyone rushes to call it stress or drama, pay attention. The people who benefit from that silence are often the ones creating the danger. Loving someone after they are gone sometimes means becoming unbearable to the people who benefited from their silence. It means choosing truth over peace. And yes, it costs something. But Megan doesn't get erased, and that matters more than comfort. If you have ever been told not to ask questions because it would upset the family, I want you to hear this. If you have watched someone get rewritten after they died, turned into a version that fits the narrative better than the truth, I want you to know this. Peace built on a lie is not peace. Silence doesn't keep a family together. It keeps the most dangerous person comfortable. You don't owe anyone your complicity in burying the truth, not even the people you love, especially not the people you love. Megan knew that. She left me a map, and I followed it. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it resonated, please like and subscribe. I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the only one willing to say something was wrong? Have you ever had to choose between peace and truth? Drop a comment. I read everyone. Check the description for resources if you are dealing with something similar. You are not alone. Until next time, keep asking the questions no one wants you to ask. They might save someone's life.